Hi friends, it's Miss Tina and I'm back with another video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We're so glad to have you. And for those of you who came back, I'm so glad to see you again. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to like the video at the end so that I'll know if you like the story. But most importantly, don't forget to share. We don't want to keep all these great stories to ourselves, right? Right. So if you're ready, are you tucked in? Great. I'm tucked in. Let's get started with our story. Today's story is Jaylen's Juneteenth Surprise, and it's written by Lavette, and it's illustrated by David Wilkerson. So if you don't know anything about Juneteenth, or just a little bit, then this is the story for you. Let's get started. No way! Jaylen's jaw dropped as he looked at the sign. Then a big smile spread over his face. He thought back to a morning a few weeks earlier. This is one of those stories that drops you right into the middle of the adventure, and then it takes you back. I love these kind of stories. He had been fast asleep when Papa's Jimmy's shout woke him up. Aha! Found it! Jayylen sat up and watched Papa Jimmy slip on the weirdest vest he had ever seen. Now this is one fine fratar, Papa Jimmy said. Fratar? Jayylen asked, trying to get the word right. What is fratar? For playing Zydeco, of course. Yes, sir. We're going to do a little two-stepping dance at our Juneteenth celebration. Jayylen shook his head. He knew Papa Jimmy was speaking English, but nothing he was saying made any sense. What was Zydeco? And what was Juneteenth? Jayylen was still trying to figure out what Papa Jimmy was talking about when he slid into his seat at the kitchen table. I declare, Papa Jimmy cried, sitting down next to Jayylen. Now that you all have moved back home from the big city, I'll have some time to teach you more about our family traditions. Who doesn't know Zydeco? And with Juneteenth coming up? Now, Daddy, Jaylen's mama Helen said, you know we haven't had a Juneteenth celebration around here in a long time. Papa Jimmy waved his hand. I know, but that's all changing. He slapped his knee and he rose to his feet. This year, we celebrate. Mama, Jayylen began, what's Juneteenth? On Juneteenth, we remember June 19th, 1865. That was the day when enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, finally learned that they were free, Mama said. Back then, it took almost 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation for the news to reach them. Every year on June 19th, people across America celebrate freedom and strength by remembering that day in 1865. What are enslaved people? Jayylen asked. Enslaved people are people who are forced to work without pay, Mama explained. Kinda like when you force us to do our chores, Jaylen's big sister Hazel said, coming into the kitchen. Not at all like chores, Mama shook her head. You see, back then, many African people were taken from their countries. A lot of them were brought to America, where they were forced to do hard work and treated very poorly. That's right, Papa said. The terrible practice of enslaving African American people in America came to an end when President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. So, what's Zydeco? And what does it have to do with Juneteenth? Jayylen asked. Zydeco may not have been around for the first Juneteenth, but music's always been our folks' way of celebrating, Papa Jimmy said with a smile. And there's nothing quite like Zydeco to make you want to dance. Papa Jimmy swiped through his phone. Just listen, you'll see. This here is Bo Frank. He is my favorite. He is one fine Zydeco singer, one of the best there is. Papa Jimmy stood up and put on his guitar. He tapped his foot, he bobbed his head, then with his spoon he played along on his guitar. There, you feel that magic in the air. Jayylen did feel it. The music coursed through him and his feet started tapping to the beat. That's our music, Papa Jimmy said. And don't you forget it, Jayylen. Papa Jimmy, can you teach me to play the guitar? Jayylen asked. So Papa Jimmy taught Jayylen how to play the guitar. He practiced every day. Jayylen loved playing along to the Zydeco music almost as much as he loved making his new inventions with his engineering kits. Now on his wall he has a picture of Elijah McCoy, who was an engineer, an inventor, and an innovator. So there's something else we can learn from this story. Now, Jayylen stared at the sign. Beau Frank was here in his town. He was playing at Junita's restaurant that afternoon. Jayylen knew just what to do. He raced home and grabbed Papa Jimmy's guitar, then ran back out of the door. Look at that. Beau Frank is at the restaurant. That's Grandpa's favorite Zydeco player, right? Yeah. A big, strong woman looked down at Jayylen and frowned as he approached the restaurant. Aren't you a little young to be here alone? She asked. Jayylen nodded. Probably. It's just that tomorrow is Juneteenth. My Papa Jimmy told me all about it. He's hosting a Juneteenth celebration and he just loves Mr. Beau Frank. So I thought, sorry, kid, the woman smiled kindly. I'd love to help you, but Mr. Frank is busy getting ready for his show. Jayylen's heart sank. I understand, he whispered as he turned to go. He felt Papa's Jimmy's guitar on his chest. Grabbing a spoon from his bag, he made up a song similar to the one Papa Jimmy had first played for him. Jayylen closed his eyes and two-stepped to the beat. Before long, a large crowd surrounded him. They were dancing, clapping, and singing along. Hey, you're pretty good, a voice said. Jayylen opened his eyes and found himself face to face with Beau Frank. Jaylen's heart pounded. That was it, his chance. My Papa loves you and we're having a Juneteenth celebration and I just want to know if you could consider coming. I mean, if you can get away, that is. It would be the best surprise ever for my Papa Jimmy. Beau Frank laughed. I think I got all that, he said, and I'll tell you what. I'd be happy to attend your Juneteenth celebration tomorrow, as long as you agree to play with me. The next day, Jayylen watched as Beau Frank made his way onto the stage. Beside him, Papa Jimmy was so surprised he jumped for joy. What? How? He stuttered. Jayylen grabbed Papa Jimmy and hugged him tight. Surprise! Happy Juneteenth, Papa Jimmy, he said. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a show to play. And that's just what Jayylen did. Look at him up there. He's playing the guitar and he's dancing and singing right along next to Mr. Beau Frank. And that's the end of our story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something new today too. All right. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.